Boom, boom! Hello world, this is your Coach PK coming at you live from Warrandyte here in Victoria, Australia, and I thought I'll sit down and make this quick video for you guys out there. Anyway, I was just reflecting and thinking about my life. I was very fortunate in my life. I got to live in 3 different continents. I got to learn multiple languages. I got to learn French. I got to learn Portuguese. I got to learn Lingala, which is an African native language. I also got to learn English, of course, now, and that's the language I'm communicating with the world right now. Portuguese is very similar to Spanish, so a lot of people that speak Portuguese, they understand most of the Spanish and a bit of Italian. German is a little bit similar to the Dutch, and if you speak English and German, you'll sort of understand a lot of the Dutch language as well, because there's a lot of similarities between those two languages. I got asked a few times, how does your head works? Do you capture the information in one language and then you translate it in your head into the next language, or it just comes naturally? In my case, I believe it comes naturally. I don't have a computer in my head, I mean, even if I did, but there is boundaries between languages. There is cultural things about boundaries. There is jokes. There is being serious. Some cultures, some languages are just very serious. They don't joke around as much as English or as other languages like the German. And it's funny because you sort of go and decide, okay, this is what they said, and then I have to translate this German phrase into English phrase, but then I have to take under consideration also the cultural thing. So is it being serious? Is it not being serious? Is it joking? Is it just is it trying to say things in a skeptical way? So it is a bit challenging to be a translator. That's my opinion anyway, and I do translate a lot sometimes, because I'm with my partner, and every now and then there is something is said in Portuguese, and she says, oh, what does that mean? And you have to go from Portuguese to English or the other way around, and then you sort of think, okay, if I say it exactly the way they say it, it won't make any sense. So you don't translate word to word, but you sort of translate in a way that it makes sense, and it makes that it's either a joke or something serious or some educational thing or cultural thing. So it's always something to be aware of when you're translating from one language to another language. And yeah, no, I definitely love languages, love cultures. Obviously, I enjoy being helping people understand cultures and languages, and to my opinion is actually always best to live in a country for at least a year or two, to understand the culture properly, to live with the natives and the locals, to understand the culture properly before you can actually go and translate things, because if you translate word by word, many times it won't make sense. Many jokes to go from English to a different language, if you just go word by word, doesn't make sense at all. So it has to be, you might have to change the words a little bit to make sense, and to the joke to be understood or to be taken the right way by the recipients. So obviously it is you are in the middle of the sender, you are in the middle, and then the recipient, and then you go back and forth. And it's always challenging things to understand. I'll give you an example. Once my sister came down for my brother's wedding. I was sitting on the table. There was my sisters, myself, and an Australian man was my sister-in-law's boss. And they were having sort of a chat. I was translating, and my sister, after maybe a couple of words, she said, "Nice to meet you." So in our English culture, and you just say, okay, nice to meet you, it sort of means, okay, nice to meet you, no more conversation, this is it. Well, in Portuguese culture, nice to meet you is just to say that, okay, oh, great to meet you, great to talk to you, let's continue the conversation. So for me to translate that, I had to change nice to meet you to it's a pleasure being talking to you, something like that. It's a pleasure, chatting to you. And then it made more sense. Because while if I did say nice to meet you, it would have probably meant that, conversation over, all good, thanks, but you're talking too much and I don't really care or want to talk to you, sort of thing. Uh, I remember once when we first came to Australia, my brother and I went to visit a friend of ours who was African. I went to his house. His Australian wife came and say hello and started talking to us and all that. And I said, "Oh, well, you're very beautiful." So she thought it was weird. She thought, why does he like me? Why is he saying I'm beautiful? Which in a Portuguese culture is a sort of a thing to say to a woman, even after a few words, because it sort of gives her the confidence. Because many women in the Portuguese culture don't have the confidence. So by saying, you're very beautiful, it just means, hey, be yourself. You're great the way you are. Talk to me anytime. Say whatever you want to say. While in Australian culture, some Australian culture, it probably means you're being creepy. Why you looking at my beauty and your friend's wife, sort of thing. So there was a kind of culture shock, which that there are the areas where if you don't know the culture, you might say things that are rude, they are not well accepted, and it's always important, like I say, to know a little bit of the culture before you start translating, before you start talking to the people from that country. It just helps the communication to be smooth, so you don't get misunderstood, or you don't come across as being rude, you don't come across as being impolite. I remember once I went to this Italian lady and went to have dinner with her, and her father was there and cooked spaghetti, which was great. And in my culture, I thought, I'll eat everything that is on the plate so that they know that I enjoyed it. But in Italian culture, if you eat everything on the plate, it means you are still hungry, you want more. And so every time I ate everything that was on the plate, they'll come and add it up again, add some more. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm good, it's enough. And they're like, no, eat, mangiare. And I thought, well, sure, okay, I'll eat again everything, and they'll come and add up more. And eventually he was saying in Italian to his daughter, well, we have to feed this man, he's very hungry. But, I wasn't hungry, I had enough. I just didn't want to seem rude by leaving food on the plate. But then for them, not leaving food on the plate, it meant he's still hungry. So feed him more, give him more food. So it's just cultural things that sometimes if you're not aware of, you come across as a hungry person, or whatever they thought, So, but they kept feeding me, and eventually I realized that, and I said, okay, I left some on the plate, and they didn't bring me any more food, thank God, because otherwise I would have exploded, and my stomach was getting full by eating all this pasta, because he was thinking about cooking some more, because he thought, oh, look, he's still hungry, he's not having enough food, so, cook more, feed the man, sort of thing, and yeah, so I thought I will shoot this video to talk to you about my experiences in life with culture, languages. It is always great to be able to communicate in many different languages, and sometimes you don't have to speak it properly as long as you understand. Obviously, I've been living outside. I've been living inside the English-speaking country for a very long time, and I have not practiced as much of my German, my French, my Portuguese, and my Lingala. But whenever I get the chance, I try to practice those languages because I don't want to lose it. Like I say, if you don't use it, you lose it. I try to get the chance to practice it and speak it to whoever I want to and I can. It's funny when foreigner people come to Australia, where I live, they tend to want to speak English because they don't want to speak French. They say, I'm here and I want to practice my English. I don't want to speak French while I'm here, which in cultural is completely opposite in France. I don't know if you've been to France, but if you go to France, French people expect you to speak French, or at least try, because they think, well, you come to my country, you need to speak my language. If I come to your country, I'll try to speak your language, which is completely different to here. Well, here we just speak English. If you speak English, great, you can communicate. And if you don't speak English, it's tough because I don't speak any French. While in France, it's a completely different. They will give you, a thumbs up even if you're just trying to speak and understand, because that's how they feel culturally. If you come to my country, you speak my language, and if I come to your country, I speak your language. At least I try to speak your language and see if we communicate in that way. So yeah, no, it's just sharing some experiences, and and I know there's a lot of people out there with multiple language. They speak multiple language. If you are one of those, if your mother, your father, your grandfather is from a different background than Australia or English, and you were born here, tell me about how much they pass it on to you on the language and culture. Tell me about how much you still keep it, how much you still use it nowadays. Down in the comments down below, it will be great to hear from you, and share. I've got a daughter which is multicultural and multilingual, because her mother is Australian and I'm African, but with the Portuguese sort of background in the language. She pretty much grew up here. She doesn't speak any Portuguese, she doesn't speak any English, doesn't speak any French or German. Unfortunately, we grew up apart because I divorced from my mother, so therefore we didn't really I didn't have the chance to pass around the culture or to pass around the language that I know, which is unfortunate, because she would have been, they would have benefited her a lot if she knew more than one language and understood or knew a lot from more than one culture. Because the way of learning cultures is also a way of accepting people, is also a good way to understanding other people and other cultures. If you know their culture and you know yours, because every culture has got something very positive. I would say most cultures have got something positive, and if you look at the two positive, and you're never gonna see anything wrong about their culture, because you're looking at it at their point of view and how they see it. For example, if somebody, let's say in the Western world, in Australia, commits a crime, for example, a rape crime, it is pretty massive, it is bad, and in a situation, they go to jail for a long time. This is just how it is. It's a bad crime, and I agree with that. But if you commit the same crime in a country like Indonesia, for example, even though you get punished, but in a very small way, for some reason, you might get probation, you might get to clean the streets for a month or 2 months, whatever the punishment is there. But it's a very low punishment. In the other hand, if you commit the crime of drug dealing or drug selling in Indonesia, you can get the death penalty. While in Australia, you commit the same crime, people sort of understand and say, okay, now you go to jail for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of years, but not the death penalty. So it's the same crime, but if you commit it in a different country, you get different penalty, and all has to do with their culture, all has to do with how they see things in life. And I'm not saying it's bad over there, I'm not saying that it's good over here, or the other way around. I'm just saying this is what it is, and this is what, the world works. You have to know and understand other cultures and other countries and how their rules are, and obey by it if you are there, and obey by our rules if you are here. I am a Herbalife distributor. I sell Herbalife products online. One of those days I had an Herbalife, as you know, is worldwide. So I had this lady, I believe she was from Lebanon, and she was interested in my product, so we got in touch online. We were talking, and then I explained to her how the product works and how to take it, how it works, and it worked really well, and she was happy with that. But then before she actually purchased, they said, look, everything to explain to me, you need to tell my husband, because he has to agree and with that before I purchase and do your program. So, which is in Australia is a complete, not unheard of. If a lady wants something and she has the money for it, and that's what that lady had, She listens, she buy it, she might tell her husband, but not for him to approve it, just to let him know. But while in cultures like the Lebanon and things like that, the husband actually has to approve. And I'm not saying what's wrong is right, but I'm just saying this is what it is. And as a seller, a distributor, whoever you are, you just have to accept it and work by that. You can't criticize and say that it's wrong or right, but you just have to accept it and go by that. So it's you have the cultural element, and then you have the language element, and then translating things one way to the other way is always tricky, because you sort of don't want to offend anyone, and so you just have to learn, accept, and work with it. So in life, in the world, the setup is already there. So you're not here in the world to change the setup. You're here to learn it. So that's what the most important thing in the world is, to learn the setup, get the information, get all the information you can, read books, go on YouTube, talk to people that have done what you want to do. And once you know all that, then you can work and find out the ways for you to monetize it, to be effective, to help, to put a positive input on that subject, on whatever you want to do. It's not about changing the world, it's about understanding the world and also give the world what he wants. I believe everybody in the world comes into the world with a purpose, and we have that purpose, and it's up to us to live the purpose, give the purpose to the world. Therefore I have all these YouTube channels, and I talk about my experiences in the world, and I know you're listening to me and you have experience, you have feelings about certain things your own way. It is great to give back to the world. The experiences you had, give it back to the world, so the world can learn about it and do something useful with it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please leave a comment down below about your experiences, about what you think about my experiences and what I just have been talking so far. And let's share ideas, let's comment, and let's all get smarter, get the information, and use the information on the right way, without criticizing anyone, without putting anyone down, accepting every culture, accepting every language, and accepting the world the way it is. Like I said, the setup is already there. You don't need to make the world yours. Accept it as it is, and work with it. So this is what I do. I hope you take it and do the same. And yeah, it's your Coach PK. This quick vlog, or this quick sort of chat, talk to you about my experiences on speaking many languages, meeting many people from different cultures. I met a lot of people through basketball, which is great. Basketball gave me a good platform to meet a lot of people and talk to a lot of people. I get to know a lot of people and understand them, and help them on the best way that I can. I have confident to say that I can communicate in a positive way with many people around the world, and I can be effective and be a positive influence on many young people's life. That's why I do this video. I want to leave my wisdom, my understanding, my knowledge to the world, so they know what I know, and continue the good work that I've been doing of understanding the world and people. If many people understood it the way I do and see the world the way I see, the world would be a better place, a more understanding place. And yeah, let's all get together. Let's go world. Let's go team world. Let's win. Let's go. Woo! Until the next video, it's your Coach PK. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Share this video, like this video, comment on this video, and let's have a debate. Let's have a chat about that. And yeah, so I hope you like this podcast. It's a podcast made by me in a beautiful sunny day here in Warrandyte in Victoria. From me to the world, like Usain Bolt does. Woo!